Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It's 9 o'clock, which means it's time for a Talk Magic. 9 o'clock on a Saturday means it's a Talk Magic. And the person that I'm interviewing today, I have spoken about on Magic TV many, many times. I am a big fan. I've reviewed a lot of this person's products, and all I can say is I'm a huge fan. This person is a performer, a creator, a writer, a publisher. He's literally been there, done that, bought the t-shirts, and I cannot wait to interview him and find out everything about his career. I am, of course, talking about the one and only Michael Bregger. How you doing, Michael? You okay?
Hey, hey, how are you? Do you like the way I'm duded up for
I
you,
gotta
Craig?
say, you win the unofficial award for best dressed interviewee on Magic TV.
Well, I know they're casting for the new James Bond, so
You
if uh
definitely pull that
if
off. You look good.
if all right, all right.
I,
But you know what? We're I'm doing an interview with the famous Craig Petty, so just give me let me just adjust myself just a little bit over here. And by the way, folks who were listening, everything that Craig was saying about me was absolutely true. Uh, although there's no accounting for taste. Do you have stripper music playing in the
I,
background?
I should put it on in the
Because
background.
look at this.
Oh my God, you're cosplaying as me.
Wait a minute. I mean, how can I do a thing with Craig Petty
I wish
without
I'd put a checkered shirt on
there we
now.
go. There we go. Now, oh boy. Now
That's
I'm ready.
amazing.
I'm ready for
That
Magic TV. I'm ready.
you yeah, it's almost like looking in the mirror. That's amazing.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. That must just be the glare of the lights.
First of all, that's probably my favorite opening that I've ever had to to an interview on this channel. But second of all,
Yeah.
I meant what I said. I am a very, very, very big fan.
Well, there's no
Um,
accounting for taste.
well, what I love about your material is it's so well thought out. It's so eclectic, and it's just so practical. Which, for me, as somebody who goes out and performs professionally, I really appreciate it when something comes out that you can actually work.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That's very kind of you. Also very astute.
Well,
And you used all those big words too.
I tried my best. I'm upping my game right now.
There
But
you go. I know in the Petty household you're probably like at the lowest rung of
I'm
the
right
ladder
at the bottom of the
with
pecking
with the
order.
kids climbing up the ladder. Your wife, I'm
Hmm.
sure, is there at the top of the ladder with the torch showing it on the kids to make sure that they're in the proper spotlight and
Absolutely.
right.
Absolutely.
So
100%. Yeah, I'm just at the bottom of the pecking order in the Petty household. Absolutely 100%. I tell you something though. I just mentioned this off camera before we started filming. I'm very much looking forward to interviewing you, Michael, because although I'm a fan of your work and I've read a lot of your material, I'm not really as familiar with your journey into magic and through magic as I am a lot of other people I've interviewed. So this is going to be really interesting, and I can't wait to kind of delve into it because obviously you're a name that everybody knows. You're very prolific, especially over in the States. You're very well known for many, many different reasons, but over in the UK as well. In fact, all over the world. I can't wait to kind of find out about the man behind the magic, if that kind of makes sense.
did he show up again?
Well, he did. You know what? I'm going to get into this right now. I want to
Okay,
ask you a
all
question.
right. I'm ready. Fire
I'm
away.
I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to ask the first question that I always ask everybody. You've been in magic a very long time. We're going to talk about your entire career. We're going to talk about everything you've done. But what was your origin story? How did you get into magic? Where were you? How old were you? How did that whole thing pan out?
It's not too dissimilar than what you've heard from a lot of other folks, Craig. Maybe I was 5 or 6. I loved Saturday mornings. I used to love the cartoons on TV. And right after the cartoons, there was Mark Wilson, Nanny Darnell, Magic Land of Alakazam, which I watched religiously. But even cooler than that, right after that half an hour on the same channel, in the city that I lived was Mr. Wizard. So there was magic, illusion
Mhm.
magic, magic trick magic. And then right afterwards, this guy who's trying to teach the kids science, but the teaching is sort of hidden under the fact that he's doing these experiments, which for all the money in the world looked like magic tricks to me.
Mm.
So that was I was very young, probably 5, 6. I remember my mother had purchased. We had a nice dining room table in the house, and she purchased those thick pads that you put on the top of the dining room table to keep it
Yeah.
from right. Remember they like folded. I can't remember
Hmm.
what they call them. So I used to take them off of the table and pretend I'm Mark Wilson because they would fold into like boxes. Right? And I don't know where my mind was, but the imagination was sure working at that point. So between that and a few years later, again, it's an American show. Probably made it over to the UK. My Favorite Martian. So was
Oh,
that a
yeah. I
okay?
remember that. Yes.
So that was Ray Walston and Bill Bixby, and Ray Walston was Uncle Martin, who was the Martian. He crash lands on Earth, and they tried. And while he fixes the spaceship, he tries to Bixby pretends that's his uncle, and they try to keep him away from the press and the police, and chaos ensues, as they say. So
Hmm.
he used to point his finger at things, the Martian, and it would levitate. You'd hear the theremin go, and the whatever he'd point his finger at would float. And he would go like this, like the Animan type of thing, right? And he
Hmm.
could read minds. And I used to, I was so taken by it. I was absolutely thrilled. I knew the levitation was with string because you could see it sometimes. And I knew the mentalism stuff, it was scripted. So how could it be mentalism, even though I didn't know a script from none? But to me, it was real. It was as real as the science and as real as the Mark Wilson Alakazam stuff. So then they actually had a magic kit, like a Mr. Misto, my favorite
Really?
Martian magic kit. And it had it was a Cubio, the block on the string. You pulled the
Yep.
string, it goes
Yep.
up and but it was the spaceship. It was a little yellow spaceship instead of the cube that would go up and down. And it had, I think there was a paddle trick in there. There's probably a few other things. I think there were age cards in there, so
Hmm.
you can do the mentalism. So that's the origin story. I mean, I was hooked at that point. But that's kind of drugstore magic, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
go to the local pharmacies and they'd have the counter with the SS Adams stuff, and I used to the coin, the block and the coin, whatever with the block with the magnet in it, and a few other things. I had the measles, and Mom went to a local bookstore and got me Bruce Elliott's book of magic.
Hmm.
Bruce Elliott, you may recall, was the one of the editors, along with Walter Gibson, of the Phoenix way back when.
Mm.
And he put a couple of popular books out. Stanley Jacks illustrated them, and it had ambitious card, which my first sighting of it, I couldn't do it, but it was fun reading it. It had a couple of aces tricks. It had some great It had Sax's dice routine with the changing of the dice
Really?
in that book. Yeah, it was. I can't remember if there were linking rings. It had razor blades, which I could never do. I didn't know that I'd want to do it. Dad, let me borrow some of your razor blades so I can put them in my mouth. I don't. I don't think that's something that Ryland wouldn't say to you. Uh, Mom, let me take some needles out of the knitting basket and throw them in my mouth with some thread. But that was a great read. That was a terrific read. So that was almost professional. And then I discovered in Philadelphia there was a professional magic shop, Cantor's Magic, on Philadelphia. In Philadelphia, it was a walk up. You had to walk up to the second flight on these old rickety steps,
Hmm.
and in there it was Valhalla, right? And it had that smell, that magic shop smell,
Hmm.
that you just don't smell unless you could find a magic shop. No. And interestingly, they used to have the pros would come in. I'd go on Saturday mornings. The pros would show up. I didn't know who they were, but they back then the pros sort of congregated together, and the amateurs and the gawkers would sort of be pushed aside. Um, there wasn't as much sharing, but ironically, years later, and there were two other guys that I remember that used to show up every Saturday morning, and we'd say hi to each other because we got to know each other a little bit, but then we as we got older, you you sort of move your own ways, Craig.
Mm.
And ironically, one of them, Mark D'Souza, and Mark Salem was the other guy. Both Philly guys, both Cantor's kids, and Mark and I have become very very close friends in the last decade or so. I mean, very very close friends. And Mark Salem were two people who wrote forwards for me in a new book that I have coming out in the spring, which we can talk about later.
We're
So
definitely going to be talking about that.
yeah,
Wow.
so yeah.
So how
So
old
that's
were you
yeah.
when you were going to this magic shop on a Saturday?
Oh, I was probably 12, 13.
So did you have when you were going to this magic shop, obviously at that point the bug had well and truly bit. Was there a goal that you were kind of thinking through in your head at that age? Like, wow, this would be a cool thing to do as a living. Did you have aspirations to perform? Were
Yep.
you thinking about creating? Like, what was going through your head at
Yeah.
this?
Wasn't thinking about creating because I had absolutely no idea how you could possibly create.
Mm,
I really didn't. It was still, there were tricks, but it was still magic. You know, it was still
mm,
magic to me. How these guys came up with this stuff was just, mind blowing. As mind blowing as the effects. Maybe that was a formative thing. I don't know. Aspirations. I didn't think of myself as going professionally in the show business, but I did do kids parties. And it was for the grand sum. I'll have to convert this into English currency. $8. The grand sum of $8 for a half an hour of kids party. I wasn't much older than the kids I was doing the parties for, and most of the stuff were just tricks that I bought at Cantor's, and some of the old my favorite Martian, the thing with the spaceship, and the kids seemed to like it. The parents, I was busy. I was working. Saturday mornings I'd go to Cantor's in the afternoons, and on Sundays I was working the kids parties. But then I just stopped doing it. Life intervened. I always stayed interested in magic, but as I got older, life intervened. I think it was in secondary school. It's probably my senior year in secondary school when it was probably the last time that I did that type of magic with a friend of mine. They had like a talent show thing at the school, and we were the Great Zucchini with his assistant Artichoke. Artichoke. We did the sword box from Victory Carton Illusions, Grant's Victory Carton Illusions. And the sword box was we got an old refrigerator carton and
wow.
painted it, spray painted it red, and we used broomsticks instead of swords for it.
Wow, that's cool.
So yeah, so and then it was just a hobby, just a very every now and then when I'd see family, I would do something. But let's see, now we go into college. My last few years in college, I had an opportunity. A friend of mine's uncle bought a steakhouse restaurant in Philadelphia, and they were looking for somebody to come and provide a little bit of entertainment at the bar.
Mm,
So well, I didn't know bar magic. I wouldn't know the difference between bar magic and close up and stage. It's just I'd had my few tricks. So I said, okay, I'll do it. And, I did a little bit of that. And I got up, it was quite a rush. It was quite a rush that I got out of doing that. And, and that was very formative to me too, because what I learned there, and Craig, probably early in your career doing table hopping and doing restaurant gigs, what I learned was I was more gratified by people laughing and being entertained than I was saying ooh and on, how do you do that? Because
yeah.
the fact of the matter is, and I go back to this a lot in the stuff that I write, the method is really secondary to being able to get your point across and entertain people.
Yeah.
And if that, and I think that's why the real super duper pros, they knew 10 tricks, and that's it. They loved they were always, the pros were always amateurs in the sense they loved watching your stuff, right? They love watching your shows and seeing what's new, and they would go and buy it, and they love getting the emails.
Yeah.
to see what's new. But
Yeah.
when it comes time to perform, they had their 10 tricks. They had it
Yeah.
down pat because they knew what entertained an audience.
Hmm.
So, and again, I go back to that time and time and time again because I think we forget that sometimes.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
So, let's see. This is a long or now we're past origin. We're into I'm putting on the Iron Man suit.
That's absolutely fine. I'm
Yeah.
loving this. I'm
Yeah,
absolutely loving
so
this. So you're in college
yeah, so I'm in
and you're
college. I'm doing this
performing.
stuff.
You've gone to perform now. You've got the
Yeah.
bug a little bit.
So now I'm a management consultant,
Oh
and
wow. That's
that was what I did professionally before I retired. So I was a business consultant for uh, for two of the biggest firms that globally that are out there.
wow.
So needless to say, I was on the road a lot with my teams. Doing the management consulting thing, and there were a lot of lonely nights after we'd come back from the client, and I find myself in the hotels. I would go to the lounge, go to the bars, and I would get a Diet Coke, and I would get a hamburger and French fries, hamburger and chips, and I would just sit there with my laptop, and I'd catch up on some emails, and then look at personal emails. And I noticed that from the magic emails I was getting at the time, this has gone back maybe 15, 20 years ago, Craig, every single one of them was self-working this, self-working that. You never have to lift a finger. You don't have to know any slides. You don't have to know how to do, everything was self-working. And I'm thinking to myself, this is just insane because even the tricks that work themselves don't work themselves. It's not
Yeah.
magic. It's the performer that has to, right? So I started to think, this is just crazy. And I looked at a new issue of IBM's Linking Ring, and they're talking about the latest self-working this and self-work, and it drove me nuts. So Sean Farquhar was the president, was the international president, and I sent him an email. I said, Sean, this is insane. If you're going to keep talking about this, somebody needs to curate the stuff that you're putting in there to say this is self-working method wise, but performance wise, you got to do this, this, and this. He said, it's a great idea. Why don't you? I'm going to put you in touch with the editor. So he gets me in touch with Sammy Smith, the editor, and Sammy says, that's a great idea. Give me 3 articles. It's like, wait a minute. What am I getting into?
Oh my God.
So I wrote up 3 tricks.
And
And
and and quick question:
yeah,
is this the first time you wrote something?
Uh,
Imagine.
no, no, I had put I had done a few things for
Hmm.
trickshop.com. I had a couple of ideas and things that I've been working on for years, and I wrote it up, and I helped a good friend of mine at the time, since passed away, get published by Trickshop. And Patrick at Trickshop was very helpful in me, very helpful to me in getting the stuff together. But yeah, it was pretty much the first time of putting stuff on paper. Those
Yeah.
that was just a couple. I look back at the stuff and it's like, who the hell wrote this? This is terrible. This is this is really terrible stuff. And you know what, Craig, I didn't put the effort into it into the research behind it. I was lazy. Um, but in the linking ring, I had an audience of people that were knowledgeable about the stuff. Not that the
Yeah.
trickshop.com people weren't, but they were, pretty knowledgeable. In addition to amateurs who were just getting into magic, and it's a rather broad, diverse audience. And it took me a while to get my voice for this thing. But on the third column in of Auto Magic, as we called it, I got an email from John Rockerbomber.
Wow,
And
that's a big deal.
yeah, I mean, out of the blue. And he said, welcome to the world of, using his flowery language, welcome to the world of magical exculpation or whatever he said. And, you have to pick out dictionaries when you talk to Rockenbomber. And he said, this is great. He says, there aren't a whole lot of us out there that are actually writing this stuff up anymore. So congratulations. Let me know what I can do to help you. And Craig, for about a year, almost every month, he would send me uh, some notes on whatever trick
Wow,
was
that's
published.
great.
And this, a guy like John Rockerbomber, who's written millions of pages on this stuff, and such a great broad range of knowledge. Uh, what I learned, and I was surprised and very very humbled, was the reach of the International Brotherhood of Magicians. It's just, and perhaps you
Global.
noticed
Yeah.
this. Yeah, it's incredible. I was getting emails from all over the world. I was getting emails from all these magicians, people who I respected and revered, and I read their books, and they're sending me stuff. I really enjoyed this, and I did a mentalism trick once that I screwed up the crediting. I got a very fast note from Max Maven, who told me that I screwed up the crediting on this. But Max and I became kind of pen pal buddies, because I would throw ideas at him, and he got me involved with some of the Magic Castle stuff. And John Bannon was heading over to England to shoot his Move Zero DVDs with Big Blind Media.
Yes.
And he sent me a note from the airport that one of the things he's shooting is his trick called, I think he called it Collusion, which was an ACAN type of thing, which I had just published that February in the Linking Ring, my version of it. It's almost identical to John's version. There's a slight difference in all of this. John says, "Congratulations! It's a great trick. You got there first." I sent him a note back saying, "Yeah, but you're John Bannon, so your version is going to end up being a lot better and certainly more obscene than mine." I have to tell you, Craig, people out there, magicians out there who say, are these IBM rings and SAM assemblies and all these, are they just archaic? And I don't think so at all. I think there's an opportunity for members to come face to face with people, with their idols. And the
Yeah.
magicians now are not the guys in cantors. These guys are giving. They're very giving. They'll help you. Um,
Yeah.
if you're there person to person and you're having trouble with a move, they'll grab your hands and put your fingers in the proper position to help you do a move. And man, none of that stuff happened when we were kids.
Yeah.
So that's where we are. Rocker Bomber suggested after my first year I should take sort of the best of the Linking Ring stuff and take 6 or 7 of them and put it together in a book and self-publish it, and that was the start of the self-publishing. Um, so here we are. We're
Well,
seven books
let's.
7 books later.
I was about to say, let's get into
Yeah,
all of this.
yeah,
So we've got the origin story. So first of all, I know that you're an incredible performer. And your new book, which we're going to be talking about later, is on comedy mentalism. Have you, was there ever a period of time when you were, like you becoming more well known in the community and you're working at the castle and everything? Was there ever a point where you went, you know what, I'm loving the management training, but let's just call that a day and let's just go and perform full time? Or was that something that didn't
yeah.
really?
Well, I'm a realist too, and as much as I love the magic stuff, it's a hard thing to do full time. Um, I might have been able to do it. I don't know. I think a lot of us carry these self doubts. That was my big self doubt, and I was making a really good living. I mean, I advanced my way up to partner and VP in these companies, and
Wow, that's a hard
I
thing to walk away from.
yeah, it was really tough. Family to raise. You know the story. And then I was doing. It's weird because I was dealing with a lot of CEOs and COOs of very big companies, and again, as broad, our art is very very broad in terms of who it attracts. A lot of these guys were very interested in magic, and they would ask me to come to the corporate events, and after the dinners and after we give out awards and whatever, can you give us 20 minutes, a half an hour, something. So and they were very lucrative gigs too. I didn't even have to ask for a price. They told me what they were going to pay me, and it was a lot of money, and I said okay. uh, so I was doing that. So it did get to a point where towards the end of my management consulting career, I had a bunch of clients in California, and I was able to mix those visits to those clients with visits to the Magic Castle and coordinate the visit to go and perform at the castle. So I'd work with the clients down in Southern California during the day, rush up the freeway, so I could change into a suit and shower and look nice. No, I would shower first and then change into a suit. It's if you try to do it the other way,
Wouldn't
you
work
know,
as well, no.
no, no, they wouldn't let you into the castle. What are you? You're dripping all over the floor. Uh, get out of here. So yeah, so that was fortuitous, and it was planned, and it got to a point where I was rolling down my career as management consulting, and I retired about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago from management consulting, and I'm finding myself busier than ever because now I'm ramping up the books, the No Brainer book, the Comedy Mentalism book, and which took years to write because it's a big book. And I'm getting asked to lecture more and more, and I'm lecturing a lot globally online. Some people are willing to sit for 3 hours with me online, listening to me babble. But I give them some good stuff.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's really what I want to do. I still like the writing. It's tough. It's tough to put out something every single month in the magazine. It's been 11 years, but let me tell you, it's really tough. Um, but I take advantage of it, Craig, because the good stuff, if it's good and I get good responses in the magazine, I'll save it and put it in a book later on. So
Well,
I repurpose it.
well, let's talk about that, and let's talk about creativity because you've obviously written 7 books. We're going to talk about those books. You obviously publish so many routines in the magazine, but also you've released physical props as well, and you've released physical products over the years. What makes, I get so many people coming on this channel and asking me, how do I become a creator in magic? How do I become a published author? How do I become somebody who's released a magic trick to the community? So I suppose the first question is, how do you decide where something goes? Like, okay, you've developed a trick. It's like, does that go in a magazine? Does it go in a book? How does it then become a physical product? What makes an idea good enough to be a physical product as opposed to appearing in a magazine? Do you understand what I mean
Yeah,
with that? It's
yeah,
a
yeah. And I don't know that there's an easy answer to that, but then you expected that, didn't you?
yeah.
Uh, thank you very much.
You're more than
To,
welcome. I'm here to answer the hard question, to ask the hard questions.
right, but you're doing a great job. Uh, so where to begin? When I'm writing, I get a lot of my ideas, and I think I know you and I have talked about this before. A lot of my ideas are from the old magazines,
Yeah.
and I would find something in there that intrigues me, and usually the tricks that are published in going back to the Phoenix, going back to I love Pabelar. Pabelar is great. Going back to Pabelar, the Gen, Harry Stanley's Gen. And these things, the tricks, they'll take a very complex trick and compress it down to a half a page or a page. And they don't do it justice. First of all, they don't give any presentation. Here's the trick, here's the effect, here's how it works, right? And I'll take a lot of them and I'll sort of put a new coat of paint on them, put a presentation around it. A lot of them are explained very poorly. So I'll try to use my management consulting skills and take something really complex and explain it so people can understand it and build their own presentations around it. And I decided that's what I was going to do with the column. So everything I put in the column, I have performed. Some things I perform maybe just once or twice or for family, but everything has gone through and some things I performed a lot. Everything has gone through the paces. The stuff that I performed that gets really strong responses, whether it's family or friends, I'll take it out on the road and I'll show it to a few other people. And if it continues to get a really, really good response, then I have to decide, am I going to try to release this commercially, or do I put it in the where I'm going to make money off of it, or do I put it in a magazine where I'm not going to make money on it? But it's something. It's sort of the gift to the magic world. It's it's what the column's all about, right? It's what you buy into in the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know that there's an easy answer. I can tell you that the stuff that I put out through Liam Montier and Kmart. So that's Art Attack, um, Bad Bikes, which I love Bad Bikes, and Psy Roller,
Hmm.
and which I know that you love Psy Roller. Those three really was Liam's a friend, and we'll do a Zoom call every now and then, and just chat a little bit, just shoot the breeze. And I'll say to Liam, I'm working on this idea over here. What do you think? Do you think there's any commercial aspect to this? And he knows the market. He knows what's going to sell and what's not going to sell. And if he says, it's a great idea, I think if you changed it a little bit or did this, you'd have a really good product.
Yeah.
And Craig, and I know you think very similar. It's once you get the idea, you want to do a deal with the company. You don't want to be involved with the manufacturing. Yeah, you'll look over the final product to make sure that it's okay, but you don't want to be the guys putting the gaff decks together,
No.
and
No.
and some of your stuff, unless you're a machinist, the coins, you know, I
Yeah.
don't know that you can do that.
Not at all.
You have to go to the pros who know how to do it. So um, I'm okay doing that. So that's probably as close an answer. Oh, the flat dice. That was I actually I reached out to TCC because I was looking for. I put flat dice out before with Mayor Yedid, and it was made. We had manufactured a couple hundred of them with a friend of ours who was first on the block with a 3D printer, and he knew how to work a 3D printer. So he was making these things, and the dice looked fine for their purpose, but it wasn't what I wanted. I wanted dice that looked like casino dice, but a little bit bigger. And then slice them thin to make the flat dice.
Yeah.
And he just can't do that with the 3D. Maybe you can, but then you couldn't. A couple years ago, you couldn't. And TCC was making all this incredible stuff. So
Yeah.
I reached out to them. I said, "You guys interested in picking this up?" They got back to me right away saying, "Let's do it." Now they had a company that manufactures dice in China
Wow.
for casinos. They were the ones who actually put this stuff together. So that's why these things look, it's that red acrylic that you can see through, and it's got that feel and the weight. They
They
just,
look great. They look
yeah,
amazing.
They were showing me pictures of the prototypes, and I was just, my jaw was dropping at how pretty they were.
Mm.
So yeah, but again, Craig, it was. Let's get the idea going. I'll put a PDF. I'll put a little video to a little. Nothing's a little video with me. I'm like you. You tend to talk so much, and then you go on tangents, and you try and bring it together in the end, right? Um, but that was fine. So I licensed it over to them, and I've got a few other ideas that again you and I were talking about earlier that I don't know what to do with. And one thing I'm going to send you. So all you folks who are watching, if it comes up pretty soon. Craig Petty taking on some of my ideas. It stems from this conversation. Uh,
Right here, right now.
right,
Yeah,
right. You're
absolutely.
seeing the light bulb getting lit. It,
Yeah, I mean, Michael showed me some stuff earlier on that just made my eyes pop out. Like, oh my gosh, this is so smart.
yeah. So
Um,
thanks. So hard question to ask, but it just sort of you just sort of feel it at some point. I guess I don't know.
and let's talk about creativity because you've published so many tricks. You've literally written the book over and over and over again. One of the things that so many people want to be able to do when they come into magic is they want to be a creator. I think I've talked about this on my channel before. We almost put creators on pedestals. So when
Yeah.
you find this wonderful magic world and you realize it's a lot bigger than you think, you very quickly realize that there's like these people that create and make magic. And a lot of new magicians want to become creators. They want to have their own trick out there. They want to have their name on a box. They want to have it, on the magic shelf and the magic shop, which is great. How would somebody go how would somebody go ahead and do that? Like, have you got any advice on creating a magic trick? in maybe just to make a trick for themselves or to sell eventually? Like, what process do you go through? What advice have you got?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm not going to dodge the question, as so many people would dodge a question like that. Let me just come straight on to a couple of things. First of all, everybody watching this webcast, every single one, I'm talking to you, every single one of you has the capability to come up with these things, to be creative about it. We just tend, even the beginning magicians, right? We tend to read the instructions, and the instructions come with a little bit of patter. Not They really don't come with a script anymore. It's a little bit of patter. I don't think they ever did. It comes a little bit of patter, the words that you need to say at the appropriate time during the course of the delivery of the effect. Um, but what I was saying, that everybody has the ability to do it. If you have a trick that you like and you do over and over again, and you're doing it just as you read it out of the book or just as you bought it when you purchased the trick, at some point or other, you need to start thinking, how do I take this trick and make it me? How do I
Yeah.
take the words that I read in the instructions and don't use those words, but use different words, or maybe apply a presentation to it? Again, this is what I do for the column, right? I look through all the old magazines. I find stuff that intrigues me where there's no presentation. I'm saying, what would be an interesting presentation around this? All these card tricks. What if I took the cards out of it? What if I put postcards with pictures of cities in it? What if I used, instead of little crocheted balls, cups and balls? What if I used, I don't know, little rubber ducks, a little something. Think out of the box, as the saying goes. But everybody can do this, but we don't take the time to do it. So Di Vernon always said, magicians stop thinking too soon. And man, that's the most. You want one word of advice for your viewers, Craig? Don't stop thinking too soon, and also don't be lazy. Um, there's not a whole lot that's new under the sun when it comes to methods, but there's an infinity ahead of you of ways to present the methods. Of maybe taking, like Craig, you're a genius at this. You take two or three methods and glue them together and wrap a presentation around it, and you got something that's new. You have something
Yeah.
that's not been seen before. You've got something that'll floor your lay audiences, and if you're into it, they'll floor your magician friends because
Yeah.
they can't put the puzzle together. They'll see you going down this route, and then you make this turn all of a sudden where they don't expect it, and that's what kills them. Some of you, could use the simplest of things. You could use, well, Craig, when the Mirage deck, you did the Mirage deck,
Yes, I
which
did. Yeah.
is which is what, from the 1930s. I mean,
Yeah, it's the
it's an
old. It's
old
literally
old
as old as the hill and the hill.
right, right. And magicians at one point or other read Hugard's book, Encyclopedia of Card Magic, and there's that whole section in there, and and people and not a lot of people use it now, as Craig has told you. But if you watched Craig's video, you're going to see some mind blowing stuff that if you didn't know going in it was done with the Mirage deck, you would say, how in the world is this happening? Yeah, I mean, you, magician. Uh, it's, and I found this over and over again. I frequently use a force deck, the old 52 force deck where all the
Yeah.
cards are the same. One card that's different is the card that's on the face of the deck. And I'll frequently use that when I need a force, and you just do it, and you can shuffle them, right? You have them take a card, and then you say, okay, I want to clear the stage because I want you to concentrate on the card, and that gives you a reason to put all those 52 cards back in the box, 51 back in the box in your pocket. People don't even remember that you've taken them out of your pocket because they're
Mm.
concentrating on that one card. And I'm telling you, I fooled dozens of magicians using that, but I don't do that as a trick, right? That is just to get a card in play that I could do something with later on.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I'm telling you, it's don't be lazy. Do your research. There's some tools out there. You can, if you're a member of the IBM, you have access to Ask Alexander. So, and it's a great search engine. You can look up Ask Alexander. You can use. I have used ChatGPT to help research some things for me.
I have. It's actually a very useful research tool.
Yeah, yeah. Dennis Bear's Conjuring credits and Conjuring archives is brilliant. Is brilliant, and I have a lot of stuff in there. And you shouldn't just use tools like ChatGPT and Conjuring just to see if this has been done before. Go and get that reference, and then go find that trick. Look it up. A lot of the stuff is in public domain.
Hmm.
So you can find it pretty easily. And the stuff that isn't is probably in a book somewhere that has a million other great tricks in it. So it's probably worth buying. But do your research. Do your research and learn from it. Um, so
I
I would,
find
yeah,
library.com is a great place to go as well. Library
yeah,
with a
library.com.
Y.
Yeah, Chris has some good research. So that's on the magic end of creativity. I also firmly believe, because I think magic creators need to think of entertainment, how things entertain people. I think you need to understand how things entertain people. And I've written a lot in recent years about what's called the three-act structure. A three-act structure is a way that playwrights and screenwriters, and it goes back to like Greek, Aristotle type of days. And it's basically things have to have a beginning, middle, and end. It's as simple as that. And usually it's 20 of the 100%, 25% is beginning, 25% is end, 50% is middle. 20,
Yeah.
think of it as 25% in the beginning. You're introducing the cards, the coins. You're setting the thing in motion. 50% is when stuff happens, and the finale, the reveals, the all the coins are under one card, and whatever. That's Act Three, right?
Yeah.
Kickers is something else, and now that's the encore. After Act Three, you bring the entertainer back. They come and do it. Look at the kickers, but do some research on that. Look
Mm.
it up. Do a Google search on three-act structure for screenwriters. And I've got I think in the new book I've got a chapter on. I do. I have a chapter on three-act structure because I refer to it a lot, and how it can help magicians put tricks together, put routines together, and then take those routines and group them into acts that have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Maybe
Right.
five tricks that you do, but the one in the beginning, the one at the end, there's a purpose for them. They link things together,
Yeah.
and help you flow. I mean, go through it. I also would strongly recommend, if you're not a movie fan, I would strongly recommend you watch some movies. And a lot of movies that have been made in the last 20 years don't necessarily follow the three-act structure, um, but a lot do. Um, Go back to the movies of I don't know. Go watch Marx Brothers movies.
Yeah.
You want to find comedy. You want to find unhinged comedy. Some of the funniest stuff you'll ever see that has a beginning, middle, and end. The jokes have beginning, middle, and end. The routines, beginning, middle, and end that pepper these things. Go watch Marx Brothers. Um, Go watch, if you can find them, old TV shows, old variety shows where they had skits and sketches in there, because
Hmm.
they might not have been funny, but they were very well constructed. And I think it's important, Craig, for those people who want to do something.
Yeah.
Yeah, take the trick that you're doing, modify it a little bit, make it you. Think of it in terms of a three. What's my beginning? What's my middle? What's my end? And you know what? You'll come up with something that's just different than what you do. It'll amp your magic up 100%. Um, I don't know. Think of two tricks that you do, and think, how do I put them together? You do a matrix coin trick, and I don't know, some card trick. Maybe you do the card trick first, and it leaves you with four cards at the end. You're doing a collector's thing, and you get your four aces or four kings or four whatever at the end, and then you say, these cards are pretty spectacular because they can do other things except move around in a deck. And then you throw four coins on the table, and you do a matrix routine. But you're stringing it together. You're stringing a couple of tricks together into a performance piece. And
Absolutely. And that's so important and something a lot of people don't think about.
yeah, so and pay attention. Oh, the other hit I have is pay attention to your audiences. Um, a lot of magicians will do the magic, and they're kind of doing it for themselves. It's kind of magical masturbation, if you pardon the. That's a weird image, but it's terrible phrase and a weirder image. But they're doing it because they can fan the cards this way, or they can do this move, and they can do. Well, let me tell you, folks. I don't think, and Craig will vouch for this. You probably don't need to know more than a half a dozen moves.
Yeah.
Not even slights, moves.
No.
You don't need to know 20 forces, card forces. Learn three of them, but do them well.
Yeah.
Be comfortable with them. You know, you need to sort of bake these into your psyche, your id, and adapt them to how you work. And don't be
Yeah.
afraid to do it. And it's hard work. It's not easy. It's hard work. But keep on thinking about the trick. If you like it, then you're going to like it even better once you think about it and add a little bit of you into the trick. And your audiences will appreciate it because they'll know that this is part of who you are.
That's
I'm getting
brilliant.
off my soapbox, man. It's
No,
not,
I am more than happy you being up there. You can stay up there as much as you want to.
I'm not running for office. Vote for me.
How did you find the time to write 7 books as well as everything else that you do in Magic, as well as being a full-time management consultant? That's like writing a book is the longest. Like I bought a book out last year, and it was basically Eric Tate. Eric Tate did 99% of the work,
Nah.
and still it took us 3 years. Like I don't even know how you were able to do everything that you.
Well, again, management consulting. You spend a lot of time on airplanes,
Okay.
and it gets to a point you don't want to watch any more movies. You don't want to read any more books. You Most of the time you just want to sit there and vegetate for the couple hours you're in flight. But I thought why not take some of the magic stuff. Originally the idea was, Craig, to take some of the real complicated stuff and to figure out, can I simplify it? And if I simplify it, doesn't make it better. So simplifying it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to make it better. In fact, you might make it worse because you get to a point of no return. I can't remember who said it. Maybe it was Marlowe. John Bannon wrote it in Move Zero. That if you take a trick and you remove 2 of the slights, it's a better trick. You remove 3 of the slights, it can be even better. You remove all of the slights, and it's a math trick, something like that. I can't remember. I think it was Marlowe who said that. But and there's nothing wrong with math tricks as long as you hide the math
Mhm.
and don't make it seem like you're doing a math trick. Nothing wrong with the self-working trick as long as you have a really good performance angle in it, so people are paying attention to the performance and not thinking about the method. So yeah, I guess in the airplane I was doing a lot, and then once you start to write, maybe you or certainly Eric would know that once you start to write, it kind of rolls. The ball starts rolling down the hill, and it you just keep doing it. You keep doing it. So I know I had all these ideas all these things that I did for all these years, that whether I was performing or not performing, I never really committed to paper. And I thought, you know what, these were damn good ideas, and people really enjoyed watching this stuff. So I don't do them anymore. Why not put some of these things down on paper?
I
So
think
that's
that's
where,
brilliant.
and a lot of the books are also peppered with the stuff in the columns. John Rockerbomber's advice, and I would take that stuff, throw that in there as well.
I want to ask you, the latest book that you have coming out is coming out in April next year, and this is by far the most ambitious project that you've been involved with yet, right? This is.
No brainer. This is a no brainer. This
Could
is.
we talk about this?
Oh, I'd love to. This is. This is my magnum opus. This is everything that I never put in earlier books on mentalism, for a couple of reasons. Either I was still performing it and wasn't ready to give it away, or kind of new stuff I put in there. There's one thing I finally describe. I do a comedy Q&A. which is very much like it's, the methodology wise, it's old as the hills and as simple as can be. But method doesn't matter at all if you're doing the presentation right. And the presentation model was Groucho Marx in the interview segment of You Bet Your Life. So for those of you who don't know, You Bet Your Life was a show after Groucho was done with the movies. He did a TV series, You Bet Your Life. And it was really an excuse. They would bring up couples, and Groucho would interview them. And the couples would always have like something strange, a strange hobby, or one would be built tall and one short, and something about. And Groucho would interview them, and he could be Groucho. It was all ad libbed, supposedly, and it was all excruciatingly funny. But the last 5 minutes of the show was the actual game show part, was the quiz, right? He'd ask the questions and spin the wheel, but nobody watched it for the questions. They watched it for Groucho. So I thought, wouldn't it be cool to do a Q&A that is sort of along those lines, right?
Yeah.
And have them write the questions down, but you get to the Q&A stuff eventually, and even though the method is really old, the way it's structured, it's mind blowing. It just blows people away. But it is all about the jokes and the presentation and the structure and the comedy interviews. And the reason I couldn't figure out how to write something like this up, because it's basically it's a seminar in comedy improvisation.
Well, yeah, that would be very difficult
Yeah, and
to
how do you?
put into paper. How do you teach improv?
Yeah, so I looked at the basics of Q&A. I looked at what people ask questions about. And there's really only like 5 categories. You can categorize things. There's only like 5 things that people, and it might seem tangential, but you can always swing it back to one of those 5 things. And then you just need to be prepared with 5 sets of quips, jokes, lines that you can use on a regular basis that can attach to this thing. And that's your foundational point, the point that things are pinned on. Once you get that initial joke in play, then you can kibitz a little bit with the person from the audience whose mind you're reading at that point. And sometimes, usually it's entertaining. Sometimes it's fun. You let them know in the beginning, you're not going to ask them anything too embarrassing. At least not until later on in the performance, I would say. And you can joke around with it, and that's when I realized that if that's the case, and it's that structure, you can write
Yeah,
it up.
yeah.
So, No Brainer is the book. It's also the name of the last routine of the book, which is the comedy Q&A, which runs, that's 30 pages, 30 some pages for that chapter alone. But I got 30. There's 37 plus routines. They're fully scripted, fully scripted.
How
So
many pages in the book? Like 500 plus?
yeah, it's 475 to 480, so it's close to 500.
Wow.
A magic book company is publishing. I'm not self-publishing this time. So a magic book company
Oh,
is
wow. That's
publishing. It's going
great.
to be hardcover. I have no idea what they're going to charge for it. I really have no idea. I just finished getting the galleys, which is basically the text and some way I'd like to have it laid out. That's off to the publisher, and they're doing all the final prettiness. That Craig, when Eric finished typing the stuff, he
Yeah.
send it off to
Yeah.
the people that know how to do the layouts. Maybe Eric knows how to do the layouts, and
No, he sent it off.
yeah, okay. Okay. It's hard. It's very hard work, and so that's out, and we're shooting for the end of April to have it out. So if it's not
That's
exactly the end of
great.
April, it'll be somewhere around there. So
That's amazing.
yeah.
That's great. And like you say, what made I actually I've got several questions. The
Okay.
first question is, what made you decide to go down the route of somebody else publishing it? Because every other book you've brought out up until this point, you've published it
So
yourself, haven't you?
yeah, I didn't I I wanted this one to be special.
Mm.
Not that the others weren't. I wanted it to be professional. I wanted a professional to finish it, to do the proper layouts, to do this. And I have to tell you, I I don't like doing the marketing stuff. Listen, you're a marketing dude, right? Marketing
I
major at
I
uni,
do
and
enjoy it that
yeah.
sort of
So
thing.
I that's I just because I always have these self doubts. Am I doing it right here? Am I spending too much time? I thought there are pros out there. There are people such as yourself that know how to do this. Book publishers do, and I know a bunch of them. So I could ask them for advice, but I hate asking them for advice if if I'm not giving them something for it. So there's one person again. I won't mention the book publisher just yet, because we'll let the book publisher do the informal announcements. But he gave me a lot of advice, and he said he'd love to pick it up. So how do you say no to this guy? And they know he knows what he's doing. He's got the name. He has the connections, and I'm fine with that. I don't want to let him take the book. I'm happy to do the book tour. I'm happy to do the signings. I'll bring a bunch of books with me when I do the lectures, and I'll sign the books. And a lot of my newer lectures have a lot of the stuff in the book in it. So it's
That's great.
yeah. So it's really one of. Guess maybe I got lazy. Remember I said don't be lazy? Maybe I got lazy.
You definitely haven't got
So
those.
don't listen to me. That's the moral of the story is if you stayed with us for what are we? We're like 45 minutes at this point. If you
About an
stuck through
hour, I
this,
think, actually. Yeah.
yeah, if you stuck through it this long, don't listen to me. Now he tells me. Hey, do you want to
Well,
see something from the book?
yeah, I'd love to. Yes, please
So
do.
so we'll teach it. Okay, this is
Wow.
something that's in the book. This is really cool. I really enjoy doing it. So can you see this? Okay,
Yeah, I see it
these
fine.
these are these are pieces of wood. Amazing with rubber bands. In fact, let me lower the screen a little bit. Ugh. Hopefully you can see the table with the
Yeah, I
rubber bands
can.
on it. Good, good, good. So I got these pieces of wood over here, but they're not just ordinary pieces of wood, right? They're pieces of wood that I used a special type of paint. They started out as pieces of wood. These are slats, real thin pieces of wood, about a little bit bigger than a deck of cards. And you can look at them. If you were here, if your hands could reach across the internet, Craig, you could see they're ordinary wood. They're slats. They're used to balance out washing machines and dishwashers if they go a little haywire. You stack a few of them, and the original condition is they're wood colored, right? It was the
Yeah.
light brown like tan. But I found at a chemist this spray paint that uses this nanotechnology.
Really?
And it's a really cool type of. You've got the quantum decad. It uses that quantum nanotechnology, probably similar to some of the nanotechnology that you referred to in that quantum deck. And it has these really cool properties. Now I don't know if you can see. I guess you can. Black against black. I see it's got a little bit of the glare from the lights, but I don't need four of them to show you this really cool thing. So Craig, if this is A, B, C, and D. Just call out A, B, C, or D. Call out two letters. I just need two of them
B and C.
in the middle. These two.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, good. So we'll use B and C since you called it out, right? And we'll say expensive nanotechnology. See ya. Right. So we have these pieces of wood, these plain pieces of wood that you saw and you examined. And if you were here, I would say it's a couple of rubber bands that are on the table. I would say, Craig, take these rubber bands. You might have a bucket of rubber bands in your pocket, different colors. Let your spectators go and pick this, right? And they just take it and they wrap it up, and that makes sure that I can't do anything that I shouldn't do. I can't do any monkey business, as Harry
Yeah.
Crane would say, on this. Okay, now this is nanotechnology that works, believe it or not, through the magic of the internet. Through even though you're thousands of miles away from me, Craig, it doesn't
Okay.
matter because you can think of stuff. If you focus properly, you can think of stuff. and it's picked up. The waves are picked up with this nanotechnology. That's why I put the rubber bands on it, because I don't want people to think that I'm cheating or touching it. So, you can think of designs, you can think of this. We're going to think of cards. I don't want this to be a card trick. I don't always use cards. I'm not even going to touch the cards. I'm wondering if I need to stand up. Let me, just because it's, well, I can just step back a little bit, right? I mean, if, you can go through a real fancy shuffle if you want of these cards. You can go through a non-fancy. They're mixed up. They're really,
Yeah, they look fine to me.
They're not stacked in that, and I'm not even going to touch them. I brought this drinking glass that thankfully is empty because cards are just paper. and I don't want to get them wet. So what we're going to do, Craig, is I'm going to take cards from the back, right, like this, and move them to the front. You'll look at the front, right? I'll take them from the back. We'll move them to the front. And at some point, straighten it up a little bit. At some point, I just tell me when to stop, and I'll stop. Whatever card you stop me at, the next card that's on the top, that's the one that we'll take, right? Couldn't be fair. I'm using the glass. I'm not even touching the cards. Stop right here. So we're going to use the next one. Okay, so if you were here, I would say, all right, here's the next one, right? Fair as can be, the next one, correct?
That is fair. That is very fair. So
just pull this thing out. And again, it's a standard, trust me, fools that you are. It's a standard, and it doesn't matter if I see this card. So we got the 3 of hearts over here.
Yeah, see that?
Okay, so Craig, remember, you need something to focus on. I'm going to hold the 3 of hearts up here. I'm going to hold this up. I want to make sure that this is in everybody's view at all time, right? I want you to stare at the 3 of hearts, right?
Done.
Okay, stare at it. Now, let the 3 of hearts burn through your glasses and into your brain, what's left of your brain, right? Let it go through your left eye, right? And then burn in your brain, and then shoot Superman laser beams out of your right eye. Let it go through the internet and zap them onto the nanotechnology, onto these little slates, these little pieces of wood over here. All right? 3 of hearts, 3 of hearts, 3 of hearts. Okay, I think that's long enough. I can put this down. And Craig, would you please undo the rubber bands on this? So you take the rubber bands off.
Oh, no way.
Like this. And separate the slates, the little slats of wood. Look at this.
That's amazing. That's like the most organic version of spirit slates I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's I tell you, I got, again, going through the old magazines, there's so much stuff on slates out there, and a lot of it with flaps and this, that, and the other thing. And I thought, how cool is this? This is something you could carry around with you. I dropped it over here. Oh. Getting chalk in my tuxedo. So this is organic. This is about as plain as you can get. Really, go to your hardware store, go to Amazon. I can't remember what they're called, slats, but I can't remember. You get a box of like 20 for a couple of quid, couple of bucks, inexpensive. And then I went to the hardware store and got blackboard paint, so spray paint.
Yeah. So
I took a whole bunch of these, and I spray painted both sides, put a couple of coats on, and that's it. That's it. I thought about doing a flap. There's enough good stuff out there. You don't need a flap. And how do you show these things? Apparently show them all sides, even though you got something written on this side. Well, that goes back to Anneman and Al Baker. And there are various ways to do it. But simple is best. I don't go crazy when I do this. So you mark a slate with a card that you're going to force. I also use a Sven pad with designs on it, and whatever force image is on the Sven pad, I'll put that on here, and that goes on top, right? You start with everything rubber banded, and you go through your initial pattern with the nanotechnology. If I'm with an older crowd, Craig, I'll talk about, I'll say I spray it twice, so it's nano, because they'll know it's a reference to Robin Williams, right?
Yeah, Mork and Mindy.
Right, there you go. Boy, we are showing our age, aren't we? But remember, this one's on top. These other 3 are blank, right? So I talk about it, and I'm casually holding them. Casually, this is the the one with the thing on top. Casually holding them, I'm spreading them like cards, right? The three of hearts that is facing me, I'm spreading them, right? And I give one to a spectator on my left, give one to the spectator on my right, and I say, just look at these things, right? And I'm turning this one over and over.
This is such
I'm not touching this one,
a
right?
bloody
Maybe
brilliant
I'll wiggle
idea.
it. Maybe I'll put them together, and as I'm talking, I won't say, but I'm put them together. Right now, you're covering, but you just put it down. You put this one down in the
It's a
middle,
brilliant idea.
and then you put another one down, and you say, take these, and you turn them as you put them down. And now you have to equivoke two of them out. You need to keep two of them. And this is the easiest equivoke you will ever do in your life. Because you say, no, this is the one that you need to keep. You say A, B, C, or D. We need two of them. We don't need four of them. We need two. So just name any two. A and B. Well, okay, so you got this one. If they say they want these two, say, okay, fine. Right? Get rid of them. Right? It doesn't. So then you take this. This is, again, the force one. And you take a plain one and you put the force one on top. You just place it on top. And you go to the rubber bands, and now you pick up the rubber bands. As you do, you can turn this. And people think, sort of like a reverse ORAM, right? Because you're putting it back instead of getting rid of it. And people are thinking that's perfectly no. You tell them to put the rubber bands on. And I have different color rubber bands, right? So they put the rubber bands on. And now you'll do the force. We'll get to the force in a second. Now, at some point, you should turn this over. Craig, I forgot to do that. So when they take the rubber bands off, when they lift off the piece, this is staring at them in the face. And you'll get a really strong reaction. They'll go, what? How did that happen? And you don't have to talk about the spirits. You don't have to talk about any of that stuff that's in the old books and in Tarbell. There's so much that you can do with this thing. Look at Craig, everybody. Look at Craig. You see the
I'm
smoke
already
coming out of his ears?
Yeah. Oh my
Right?
gosh.
Right.
Can you honestly,
Craig, I
count
smell
those
another.
things?
I smell another 5-hour tutorial coming, Craig.
This is brilliant.
Little black slates, LBS. My wife
Oh
always
my
talks about
gosh.
you've got to women need to dress when they travel. They need to have a little black dress, LBD. They need to pack that. So I heard LBD. What the hell is LBD? Little black dress, right? No, little black slates, and they take up no room. For crying out loud, it's great. It's great for walk around.
That is
Okay,
a genius idea, and I
did you
think you've
like
just scratched the
did,
surface with what you can do with those
did
things.
you like the force?
Yeah, it was
Okay,
like a self-working glass-assisted version of a second deal.
yeah, yeah. There you go. It started as a Marlowe idea. Then Aldo Colombini got his paws on it. And then I played around with it for a while. So you have it's so cool. I love doing I call it the Classic Force. The Classic Force. Right. You have your Force card.
Yeah.
By the way, um, I've been using larger pip Force cards lately, the jumbo facers lately. They're easier to see. They're easier to read, not only for you, but for your audiences as well. Uh, and you're entertaining them. You don't want them to work,
Yeah.
right? You want them to sit back and enjoy the show. And it's just it's just something that I've noticed. All right, so
Yeah.
you have this on top, and you put two cards on top of it, any two cards, right?
Right.
You can shuffle as much as you want as long as you keep those three cards on top. You can do ripple shuffle. You can do whatever shuffles you want, but I would advise you, if you're going to shuffle, just do a little casual overhand mix. Don't make it into a card trick. And
Yeah.
all I do is to leave these three on top. I just turn it face up, face towards the audience, and I just shuffle a couple of chops, and then I just put this back on top again.
Oh, that's clever.
Because you're talking, you're looking at
Yeah.
them, they're
Yeah.
looking at you in the peripheral vision. They're seeing the cards change. So,
Simple.
right, right. Now, you
Done.
take this and you put it in the glass, and the logic is, I don't want to touch the cards. I use a glass. This is plastic, but it's not like cut crystal. It's I don't know, what are they, engraved? I don't know what they call it. It's not.
Yeah. So it
Yeah,
looks like one of the old hydrostatic glasses, but I know it's
yeah,
not.
yeah, yeah. Or mirror glasses, right?
Yeah.
It can hide. So you can find these at your local dollar store, pound store, or or rupee store, whatever they call it where you live, right? Right, and you put the pack in there, and you want to. I guess this is about 8 ounces, 8 ounce tumbler. You don't want anything bigger because the cards are gonna sink in more. You want to leave a bunch of cards sticking out very casually like that. And you get them in there, and you say, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the cards from the top of the deck, and I'm going to move them one at a time to the bottom. So there's one. Now you do it again, and you're holding this down, and you're bringing this up like this, and now what you've done is you put your force card on top, right?
Yeah.
Now you're going to say, "Are you ready?" You know what we need to do, and at some point you just tell me to stop. Whenever you say stop, we'll take the next card. As you're saying that, you're ostensibly straightening things out, but look at what you're doing. Oh, let me stand. Look at what you're doing over here. You're going like this to straighten. You're taking your thumb and you're pushing this card down a little bit. So there's your second deal, Craig, and it's held in there
Brilliant.
by the glass, and it also gives you it sort of bows up a little bit. So, I mean, this is a second deal you can do with mittens on. Right? So now you're taking the cards like this and just bringing them, and at some point, Craig will show up in your audience and he will shout, stop. So remember, it's the next one. So at this point, you're saying, okay, I'll stop here. Do you want any more? But you can go through all that. Now watch this. You take this and you turn, as you're turning this over to show, your fingers are over here. You're going to push this up so that it presses against the bowed card. And you're going to move this a little bit, like you're offering it to somebody to go and take the card. In fact, you can. What they think is your hand is there because you're tilting this down. If your hand isn't there, the cards are going to spill to the floor. So you say, we stopped here, couldn't be any fairer. You just take the card, please. And they take the card, right? And then you get everything out of the way. And you tell them you can look at the card, it doesn't matter. But that's the card force, the glassic force. However you want to use it, there you go. You learned two things today. Uh,
Michael, that's so generous of you. Thank you so much.
It's a Christmas present, and if you're watching this in January, it's a birthday present. My birthday is in January. Don't forget to send me money.
I'm sending you money.
Birthday.
I'm sending you money.
Yeah, negotiable bonds. Yeah, bearer bonds.
I can do that. I can do that. That's
Craig, I don't know
brilliant.
when your birthday is, but maybe it's Craig's birthday or
Well,
Ryland's
it's
birthday.
April, actually,
Yeah,
around
there
about the
you
same
go.
time that your book is coming out. Just
Hey,
saying.
there you
What a
go.
coinkydink.
Wait a minute. Are you sort of trying to weasel a book out of me?
Well, I'm just saying it's my birthday. It's almost like it's meant to be.
All right, all right. Well, you'll review it on the review show. You'll give it
Absolutely.
you give it 150%. Uh,
Yeah, we do most of your
yeah,
stuff.
I don't twist any arms, do I, folks? Uh, hey, I'll tell you, I was really lucky. It was comedy mentalism, right? And I got, I got four great mentalists and magicians to write forwards for me, and they're so gracious to go into it. Mark D'Souza is a good friend, so it didn't require much bribing. But Mark Strivings, Mark Strivings, he's put out
Yeah,
he's a
the
legend.
SUC peak is legendary.
Yeah, yeah. So Mark Strivings wrote a forward. Mark Paul, who's a little bit closer to you geographically,
Well, he
uh,
is the goat when it comes to mentalism in the UK.
and Mark Salem. So I found it interesting when I asked them. They all said yes. I thought, well, this is cool. I got four marks.
I was about to say,
So
yeah.
so me with puns. So the beginning of it is introductions by the four Marx brothers, and and I found an illustrator who could give us illustrations of these four guys as the four Marx brothers.
That's
So it's
brilliant.
pretty wild. It really turned out well. So
That is amazing. I want to ask you actually,
yes,
because
sir.
you've mentioned a couple of times that the new book is comedy mentalism, and we
Yes.
obviously know you for comedy mentalism. I've heard people like I'm a comedy magician, not a mentalist. I do mental magic occasionally, but the focus is on magic. And I would never not do comedy magic because for me, like you, the most important thing is it's entertaining. And sometimes people don't love magic, they'll love comedy, and that everyone will get something out of the performance. I've heard mentalists say in the past that you shouldn't combine mentalism with comedy because it trivializes it. And I completely disagree. One of my favorite performers of all time is John Archer, who I
Hmm.
think is
Yeah. Yeah.
fantastic
Yeah. And
at combining,
fantastically funny.
yeah, funny, but
Hmm.
also his funniness doesn't take away from how powerful the mentalism is.
Yeah.
As somebody who's literally just written a book on comedy mentalism, do you have any thoughts on that?
Absolutely. And you'll have to read the book. No, uh,
Great.
no, no. I do have some very serious thoughts about it because I totally disagree with. What a surprise! I disagree with that premise. If I don't look at it when I talk to you and talk to magicians, they talk about comedy mentalism. Lay people don't know. They might know what a mentalist is because they've seen them. They saw the TV show The Mentalist. But I'm an entertainer. First and foremost, I'm an entertainer. Um, I'm an artist. I like to think I'm an artist. Renoir used impressionism and oil paints as his medium, right? Um, Juan Tamariz uses cards now
Yeah.
as his brushes and paints as his medium. Um, I'll use whatever I can take that will allow me to do psychic stunts, but more importantly, make people laugh. I want people, as we said earlier, Craig. I want people leaving the theater or the venue saying, not so much, how did he do that? I want them to say, God, was he funny? God, did I enjoy that? And by the way, how did he know my address? How did he know my PIN number? How did he know those cards that I pulled out of a deck randomly? But he was funny. I want people to be happy when they walk out, not puzzled. Now,
Mm,
having said that, I'm going to say something that's Craig Petty controversial right now.
okay.
Not that you would ever instigate me.
No, I never.
Right, right. So um, I very much respect the mentalists out there that do propless mentalism. I have
Hmm.
great respect. And I think they're extraordinarily talented and they frankly blow my minds. But between you and me, everybody else, don't pay attention to this. It's just me and Craig talking. Between you and me, I get bored watching propless mentalism. I can do about watch about 10 minutes of it, and then I get bored. I might be amazed that the hairs on the back of my neck might start to vibrate, right? But I can't. Whether I just get bored by it, and I've noticed audiences they'll either get bored or they'll be a little frightened, a little disturbed by it. I don't know how and again it's just me. I don't know how a full evening of nothing but propless mentalism is entertaining. Now I know, Craig, the stuff that you do when you're doing work, the comedy stuff, and you're doing mental magic, you're mixing it with straight magic and the great coin work that you do and the cards that you work with. People walk out saying, God, was that enjoyable or what? They don't walk out, even though you read their mind and they have no idea how you did it. Maybe you got some secret information from them, their license plate, their PIN number, God help you. Uh, but people still will walk out saying, I had a great time with this guy. Um, that's what I want. So yeah, does comedy mix with mentalism? Stop thinking it as comedy and mentalism. Thinking it as an entertainment that you're putting it together. And we as magicians and mentalists, we tend to characterize and put ourselves in these pigeonholes. The audiences don't. We tend to do it to ourselves, and you know what? That limits us. I believe.
Yeah.
It keeps us from thinking out of the box. It keeps us from being original. It keeps us, just think about, take again a standard trick that you like doing and say, how do I make this entertaining for a group of 20 people? How do I get them to look at this trick and say, that was the most entertaining thing? And it could be the most boring, simple thing that you learned when you were a kid. Um, how do I make people say, yeah, that was cool? That was fun. And man, I laughed my butt off when you did that.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
It does. It does.
Yeah,
I'm
I
so
think
glad
it
you
I
have
think it
that.
has a place, but I think we misnomer it. I really do think we misnomer it. We make it an issue because we categorize it, and we need to
My
stop
my
doing that.
thought process on propolis mentalism is I think the problem with it is there's a couple of people that do it really well. I could watch somebody like Pete Turner
Hmm.
perform Propolis Mentalism and just be completely blown away.
Hmm.
But I think it's the sort of thing that a lot of other mentalists try to do. And I think that if you don't give it the time and the effort and the energy it deserves,
Yeah.
it can come across as guessing
Yeah.
badly.
Yeah.
And I think that there's very few people that can do it really well. But it's the sort of thing that you can understand the concept of relatively easily, so you can do it, but you're not doing it as well as you should. Do you know what I mean? I
Yeah,
think that
absolutely. Yeah. I also I think that, you can take a lot of Pete's, and I think Pete's awesome. I really do. He's one of the people that I was talking about in terms of these guys just blow me away.
yeah,
I think you can take some of his stuff, but incorporate it with some other stuff.
yeah,
I don't know that I could. And again, it's just me. I don't know that I could handle an hour and a half of propless mentalism. Listen, years ago, when Uri Geller was the thing, right? He
mhm,
was uh, positioning himself as the real deal, and he was doing tricks. But man, his personality and the structure of how he did the tricks absolutely had you believing he was the real deal. So
mhm,
he did all at the beginning. He did like old school presentations. He'd go to colleges and universities. You read about the old mentalists. They give a lecture first, right?
mhm,
Right,
mhm,
ESP lecture, and then they would do their thing,
yeah,
right? So Uri Geller would give like a little mini lecture on this stuff, and it was funny, and he was engaging, and this guy's got charisma and personality by
mhm,
buckets, right? And then he went and he did his watch stopping and the metal bending and the drawing duplications that I've come to learn later on. I mean, these are, he's using standard magic methods bent to fit the way he does it. And that made him a really, really good performer, an excellent magician. And, if he wanted to use that publicity the way he used it, more power to him. But, again, he didn't do a whole show, a whole performance, a whole lecture of propless mentalism. I mean, he's props, right? Drawing duplications, spoon bending,
yeah,
watch stopping. Let me, you know, four paper cups on the table, and we're going to put a dollar bill under one of them, and I'll turn my head around, mix them around, and I'll tell you which one it's under, which is straight. It's Bob Hummer's mathematical Monty or whatever he called it. So
yeah,
again, we get trapped in these semantics, and I tell you, Craig, they just sort of suck the life out of the stuff that we do. So don't put yourself in the middle of this. If you do propless mentalism and do it well, and you practice it and practice it, because talking about comedy improvisation, this is improvisation, the propless
yeah,
mentalism,
yeah,
right? You got to do it well. You have to, and you can't expect that you're going to do it well from the beginning, because it takes a lot of practice, a lot of trial and error in front of
yeah,
real people. And don't go out there and do it unless you are comfortable in your own skin doing it. And you get people to be entertained.
yeah.
Enough said.
That is very, very true.
Yeah.
100%. So let me ask you a couple more questions. As somebody who has written, is this going to be your eighth book that's coming out in April?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So
Yeah.
somebody who's written 8 books, published God knows how many physical tricks through multiple production companies, somebody who's literally written magazine article after magazine article after magazine article. If you had, if you could give people, I said before, people want to become a
Yeah.
creator in this industry. But also, people are looking to like make a name for themselves in this industry. You've talked about some of the biggest names in magic. You've talked about your Max Mavens, you've talked about your John Banners, you talked about your Mark D'Souza's. If somebody's watching this and they want to make a name for themselves in this industry, like you have, because let's be honest, everybody knows who you are, and you can't do what you've done in this industry without actually having such a great reputation. What advice would you give them to really kind of be one of the names that everybody talks about?
Craig, this is the same advice that I gave new consultants when I was doing management consulting. Exact
Okay.
same advice. It all comes down to, well, business terms. It all comes down to networking.
Mm,
And Craig, you know this perfectly well from your marketing and the business side of what you need to do a lot of business on this stuff. It's not who you know. It's making the effort to know people who you can ask questions of. Now, again, in the old days, magicians, pros weren't accessible. You'll bump into them at magic shops, and you'll bump into them here and there, but they weren't really they weren't as open in sharing thoughts and ideas and secrets and being friendly. And these days, I find just the opposite is true. So yeah, go join the International Brotherhood of Magicians. Go join SAM. Go join whatever magic circle or whatever local magic clubs there are. Meet these people. I mean, you're going to be bored to tears with a good portion of these meetings that you go to. You're going to see a bunch of old people. Older, you'll see a bunch of old. Listen to me talk. Listen to Methuselah here, who remembers Robin Williams, right? And Groucho. You'll be in a room with a lot of seasoned people who are amateurs and some seasoned professionals, right? But you'll be in a room with people your own age too.
yeah.
And if it's just the older people, learn from them. They are there because they want to share. They want to give back. So it's okay to ask them questions. So make these connections. Now the other thing is when you go, if you like a particular trick from a person such as Craig, or anybody else that you purchase their magic. Just about always they will either have a website or in the instructions they'll give, if you like my trick, let me know, drop me a note. They want to hear from you. They want to know if you were successful in their trick. Did you come up with a variation? They would love to hear. They would love to hear that. So don't be shy about doing that. Send them notes. You'll be surprised and thrilled when they write back to you and say, "This is an idea that for this particular trick I never even thought about it. What a great idea! Congratulations! I wish you well with it." So the next time you go to a convention or send an email, or you all of a sudden you're going to find yourself talking to these people. It's Mark Paul. So how did I get to meet Mark Paul? Um, I love his stuff, and I was working on a trick that I realized used a methodology very similar to one that Mark Paul taught on one of his lectures. And I didn't want to publish the trick or release the trick until I had a chance to pass it by him and say, is this okay? That's the other thing. With the hard work comes honesty and ethics. And you need to make sure you're putting yourself in front of people. You got to raise that platform to keep it up there. So be honest with yourself. And if you're using a move or something, credit the person that again, watch Craig's stuff. It was his 72-hour tutorials, and at least 50 of those 72 hours, he's saying, this uses a move from so and so, and this and that,
Hmm.
and I talked about the hard work and the research. That's where you get that information.
Yeah.
But somebody who's still around and is selling something similar to that, have the courtesy to reach out to them and say, can I use this? And if they say no, they say no. Then use it, but use it privately. Don't try to be commercial with it. So that's it's networking, Craig. It's really it's making friends because these fancy people who write books, these people who have been out there, these people that have names, they enjoy talking about their stuff, and they enjoy when younger people want to learn their stuff. They want their ideas to live on too. And they're happy to talk to you about it. Next thing you know, you're doing a Zoom session. Can I bug you for a half an hour? And again, Mark, Paul, and I, we've shared ideas. We've done Zoom sessions. Howard Hamburg, I would see him on back during the pandemic days on online conferences, and he had a really great move that he showed on one of these things. And he gave an email. He gave it out his email, and I emailed him. I said, you know what? I've been trying to learn this thing and I could never learn it for years. And then I saw your explanation of it and now I got it. Next thing you know, I'm talking to Howard all the time. I go to the Magic Castle and he sits in the Vernon corner now. He'll sit down and he'll talk to you and he'll just kibitz with you and show you stuff in session. He's one of those guys that'll take your hands. I was trying to learn the Visor concept, the Visor move.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't get the knack. Howard sits next to me, grabs my hands, puts my fingers on the cards the way it needs to be, and he says, "Okay, now do it." It's like who does this, right?
Mm.
Well, you know what? There's a whole lot of magicians out there that does this, and that's how you get people known. So get yourself into the community. Maybe you just want to be an amateur magician. Maybe you don't want to be famous, but maybe you want to connect with these guys. Their emails are out there for a reason. It's not just to have people complain to them. They want to hear from you. So it's as simple as that, Craig. I know people that love your stuff, so they'll send you emails, and I know that you're incredibly busy and you can't get to emails as fast as you like to. But you know what? Send Craig an email. He'll get back to you
Yeah.
at some point
Yeah.
or
It will
other.
take me a while sometimes, but I always
Yeah,
get back to people.
yeah, because
Yeah.
he's got nothing better to do. So
I don't really do much. No, that's really, really, really good advice. Absolutely. And I've got one more question for you,
yes,
Michael,
sir.
which is you've achieved right. And I've said this before to people on this channel I've interviewed, but it really does apply to you. You've achieved so much. Like your eighth, but no, you have. Your eighth book is just about to come out. You've had physical products come out with some incredible companies. You're very well known in the industry. Everybody knows you. You've written the book again and again and again. Your legacy is set. Like it just is. But
Well, that's very
how,
kind of you.
well, it's true. People are going to be remember. I mean, you're not going anywhere anytime soon, but people are going to remember your body of work. I mean, it's just amazing. And is there anything left on your magical bucket list that you want to achieve?
Yeah, that's what showers are for. I always seem to come up with these ideas now when I'm in the shower, and I'll look at some things, and again, I love. Oh, here's another tip. I love reading Go read the old magic magazines. They're gems. You'll find stuff in there. I talked about Pabelar. Um, Fantastic. I read Apocalypse from issue 1, all the way 20 years worth of Apocalypse when it was available electronically through Conjurer's Research Center. I got them all. I read them on my iPad. It took me a year to read through all this, but I finally got to the last page, and I said, I need to get in touch with Harry Lorraine and let him know that I've achieved this thing. So you talk about reaching out to people, right? I was able to get Harry's email address and I sent him an email and he said, sure, give me a call. And, I got to know Harry pretty well. It's like the last 5 years of his life. And my biggest regret is that we didn't meet sooner because he's a real mensch, as they say.
Yeah.
Uh, I really enjoyed at his age. You were hearing the same stories over and over again, but you know what? They were great stories, and you let them talk. And uh, so, read the old magazines. Apocalypse is great. I'll go through the magazines that get a whole set and read it all the way through because you get a sense of the culture. You get a sense of the thinking of what magicians at the time were thinking and what they're thinking now. And you'll also find some incredible tricks that need a bit of freshening up,
Yeah.
little bit of performance technique ideas that you can combine to make them into something new. Phoenix. Well, let's start with the Jinx. The Jinx I thought was great. When Animan died, the Phoenix sprung into existence. Phoenix was the resurrection of the Jinx, supposedly. Walter Gibson and Bruce Elliott. And it became more of a magic magazine than a mentalist magazine. So the Jinx is great to read all the way through. The Phoenix, it's humongous. And all the greats of magic, whoever were, wrote for that and put in some awesome stuff. Pabelar, I thought was great. Mark D'Souza told me to read The Gen. Harry Stanley, Unique Magic Company. Read the Gem. Louis Ganson wrote most of the issues, and I think it's like 20 years, 25 years. You'll see a lot of the old stuff advertised in there. That's pretty cool looking at the old ads. Uh, I loved going through that. Magic with a K, Bascom Jones Magic.
Yes.
Did not start out as a mentalism newsletter. It was about 5 years into the run, the 20-year run, 19-year run of Magic, that it became more of a mentalism piece. But it's got great stuff. The New Jinx, um, picked up for when the Phoenix died. They picked it up again. They were going to make it the new Phoenix. I liked Paul Bearer's review, Carl Fulvis, Paul Bearer's review, and the follow up, um, chronologue, chronicles, yeah. Uh, Carl Fulvis used to run his magazines like every 2 years. He would do 24 issues of a magazine, then change the name, but it was always the same stuff. But Paul Bearer's review, I think I ran 10 years. Some great stuff. So if you can get complete issues of these things, start at page one, and it might have some real dreck in there in the beginning, but start at page one, let them find their voice, right? Took me a year or so before I found my voice for the Linking Ring, and go through, and the Linking Ring. Hell, it's been around for 100 years. If you join the IBM, you get access to 100 years worth of the Linking Ring. If that's not a great education, you find some great stuff in there. John
Hmm.
Bannon was a card editor for the Card Corner for a couple of years, so you see all Bannon stuff in there. And Mike Powers has been doing it for the last 15, 20 years in the Card Corner. You got Mike's great stuff, and Mike's a fantastic teacher. He's a really
He
nice
is.
guy. So
My favorite magazine, we had it over here, is a magazine called Abracadabra by
Abracadabra. Yeah,
Ridley.
I've
And
not gone
I've
through that, Craig.
and I've got all the leather bound volumes year
It's
by
awesome.
year from the 1940s all the way through to 2000 and something when it ended. And going back and looking at what they were talking about in the 1940s and the 1950s is just fascinating to me. It really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. You really get, if you read it chronologically, you really get a sense of the culture.
Mhm.
And you also get a sense, well, in Magic, Bascom Jones Magic, you see the beginning when Uri Geller appeared on the scene, and magicians were just trashing him. He's a fake, calls himself a psychic, he's just a magician, and blah, blah, blah. And then a couple of years later, they're sort of saying, he's doing Bafo business at this club and that club, and he's come up with some great ideas, and you start to see the acceptance happen a little bit along the way. And just the sense of the culture that's going on in the community. It's really really interesting to see that stuff. Plus, you get these awesome tricks
Yeah.
along the way.
And Richard Zelmaniak is another one, which was obviously
Yeah,
the
yeah,
the
yeah.
magazine that predated Apocalypse.
Well, Richard's Almanac came after Apocalypse.
Yeah, I
Richard
thought it came before.
Kaufman worked with Harry for the first year. Apocalypse was really Richard's idea. I think it was also his title too. But he was a kid. He was a teenager at the time, and ended up. I don't know that Harry pushed him out. I don't know the full detailed story on all of this, but it became Harry's magazine, and then Richard said, I'll show you, whether intentionally or not. But
That's right.
and
Yes.
and it, and it's very high. Richard Kaufman, I'll say it a million times, is a fantastic writer. A fantastic writer.
Mm.
He can take slights and describe the slights in such detail that it's like you're watching a movie. You're watching a video in slow motion of the slights. And it's probably better to learn from the books that guys like Kaufman write than the actual videos themselves. Also, you're building up the performance in your head. You're using your own imagination. He'll teach you the methods and the slides, give you some hints for the script. But yeah, Kaufman's a great writer, and I'm going through right now. I'm going through Genie from the first issue to like 2010, like those issues. So I'm well into the Kaufman years, and you can see that there's such a difference in journalistic style it was almost like during the Larson years, good stuff, good magazine, but it was almost like the house organ for West Coast magicians, right? The Pacific Coast, PC, AM, PC, whatever they call themselves.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. It didn't have a whole lot of East Coast influence because the communication, East Coast, West Coast, 1960s, even telephone calls that were very expensive back then. But then when Kaufman took it over, I mean, you started to see there's like journalism here. He's
Yeah.
finding a topic and he's researching it and he's writing it up. In addition to having the great tricks and the great reviews, and Jamie Ian Swiss's book reviews are just fantastic. So yeah, go look at the magazines. I'm telling you, spend the money. First buy Craig's tricks, and then spend whatever you have left. Save whatever you have left, and go and get a full run of the magazines. You can start with the Jinx because I think there were only Jinx did not run that long. Maybe there were 200 issues, if that, and each issue was only like 4 to 8 pages, right? So you can get through that pretty quickly. But the stuff in there, the animate stuff, is just amazing.
Mm.
And then whatever money you have left, save it, and you'll need it to buy my book in April because at 500 pages hardback, I have no
Well,
idea what they're going to charge, but
I was going to say that it's coming out in April.
yeah.
I mean, obviously, you've not said the production company, which is fine, but is it going to be like available from you directly? Is it available from all magic dealers? Where can people get on a
Magic dealers,
magic dealer?
magic. Go to all magic dealers. Will carry it. I will have a very limited supply that I'll take with me when I lecture, but it's a limited supply. Yeah, you can get it from me directly. Um, at some point, probably several years after the book is out, we'll do an ebook version of it, and that I can handle directly because it takes me 5 minutes
Yeah,
to go and send the emails out. But I don't know that that's going to happen because it's really out of my hands at this point. It's
yeah,
whatever the publisher decides to do with it, and they may decide, hey, he might make a bundle off of it and decide we're not doing an ebook version of it.
no.
It's fine. That's fine. Um, Whatever they decide. There are much smarter brains out there than this little can of peace, right?
Well, I can't wait for it to come out. I really can't. I know it's going to be hugely successful. And if you've mentioned about lecturing, you obviously lecture physically at organizations and you lecture virtually as well, which
Yeah,
means that you're accessible from all over the world.
yeah, yeah,
If
yeah. Hey,
somebody,
Magic Club guys, I'm open. I give 2 to 3 hours or less, but not more than 3 hours because then I kind of die after
so
that.
if somebody wanted to contact you about lecturing, where would they reach out to you?
Send me an email, mbregger, mbreggar magic, one word, mbreggermagic at gmail.com. And be more than happy to lecture for your club, lecture for your society, reach out through the veins of the internet and lecture personally for you. So
That's amazing.
I make myself available.
And I can tell you over and over again that your material is nothing short of fantastic.
Well, thank you for being my favorite stalker.
I will happily talk to you anytime, Michael. I'm a huge fan. I really am. And
Thank you, Craig. That means an awful lot. Particularly from another insane mind such as yours. Yeah.
well, if I can get to the end of my career and achieve what you've achieved, then I will be very, very happy. Like genuinely, like
Well, you've given us a lot of joy over the years, Mr. Petty. So you should, between the tricks and the review shows and the Magic TV and all the stuff that you do. So don't sell yourself short. Not that you ever do. But keep
I'll try not to. I'll
keep
try.
those opinions coming, my friend. They might not always be right, but they're always entertaining.
Well, that's what I go for.
There you go. Remember, it's entertainment, folks. It's all about entertainment.
Absolutely,
It's not
entertainment
about
for
method, about entertainment.
Michael, this has been, I knew it was going to be, but this has been not only an incredible incredible interview, but what you've also done is the amount of advice and help that you've given people. I hope that everyone that's watched this understands the gold that you've dropped here in this interview, because you've given very, very freely of a lot of knowledge, a lot of information, a lot of advice that really will see people useful. And that slate thing is bad. I'm going and getting that's a brilliant idea. It's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, just I'm telling you, I've had so much fun with it. Again, it's one of those things where you're reading through the old stuff and they're doing these fantastic things. Peter Warlock has such great stuff with slates, and about half of it uses the magnetic flaps. But I always said, what if you didn't use the flaps? There's still half of the stuff that doesn't use flaps. And
Yeah.
even if you're just using the slates, just to like you're doing a trick with a number or a word that you're going to guess, you can write it down on the slate with a piece of chalk. Richard Osterland always uses a school board slate. Doesn't use a whiteboard when he does this stuff, because he says the white chalk against the black slate really pops out. And there's no glare on it, which is another interesting thing. So there's nothing wrong with using these little slates to write things down, and then you switch in the slate that has the pre-written stuff on it, get the rubber bands out, go to town.
It's brilliant. It's absolutely amazing. And there's so much that you can do with that as well, which is just perfect.
Well, I'd love to see you run to town with it. It's
I'm going to
awesome, awesome,
100%.
awesome.
100%. And that's in the book. That's going to be in the new book.
Yes, that's in the book. Little black slates. There's a
Little black plate.
couple of ideas, but the main thing is the one that I showed you. And again, when I perform it, I usually use a Sven pad with symbols.
Yeah.
I just Max Maven had the symbol deck. There's Paul Hallis has a symbol deck. There's the symbology deck. You can use corporate logos, right?
Mm.
Just tape them. You can get a blank Svengali deck that's now on sale. Penguin, Vanishing, Alakazam, everywhere. A blank Svengali deck, and go and just cut out corporate symbols and paste them into the Svengali deck, but you have one that you'll have to paste 26 times. That'll be your force. You can do that. Whatever. I mean, it's they're just little pieces of wood. There's so much that you can do with it. So let your imagination run wild.
That is brilliant. Michael, thank you so much for
Greg,
coming on the channel. I really appreciate it.
thank you for inviting me. I had a good time. This is a good man, folks. I'm pointing at Craig's where you're my left, my right,
Yeah.
wherever Craig is. Wherever Craig is, this is a good guy. He deserves our support 100%. It's good that you support the channel by watching the channel, because this is another one of those guys I was talking about who really likes to give back to the community and enjoys it, and sees it not as a duty. Although I know you think of it some way, but actually gets a kick out of doing it,
Yeah,
enjoys
I do.
doing it. So,
Yeah.
Greg Petty, you're the man.
I've got a reputation to keep up. Stop, else people will start to like me.
Well,
Oh,
there you go. Then ignore everything I just said. In fact, ignore the last 2 hours. In fact, this is a hallucination.
Absolutely, absolutely. But assuming it's not a hallucination, I want everybody that's watched this interview to do two things. First of all, leave a comment down below. Let Michael know what you thought of the interview. I thought it was amazing. So leave a comment down below. Second of all, no brainer. Make sure that you pick it up there. Michael Bregger, no brainer. It's going to be available in April 2026. And knowing everything that Michael has done up until this point, it is going to be absolutely phenomenal. And I will be first in line with that book.
And in the meantime, get this Writers of the Lost Card, because I have had more fun putting this book together. It is loaded with Indiana. It's a card book. This is a big one, too. It's 215 pages.
Where can
It's
people
loaded
go
with
to get
Indiana
your book?
Jones stuff.
Where can people go and get these?
Just go to your local magic shop, and it's there. So there's no ebook version of this thing now. There
I
was
love
some.
that front cover. I actually haven't got that one, so I'm going to go and pick that up.
Oh, all right. Maybe it'll find its way to your door.
Well, that would be amazing.
Maybe, maybe it'll be just in time for your birthday.
There you go.
Or
I'm
given
looking at my birthday gift right there. I'm happy
given
with that.
given postage these days between the U.S. and
Kind
England.
of takes a while, right?
Yeah, there you go. It also cost a fortune, but whatever. You're worth it, Craig.
Michael, you are the man without a shadow of a doubt.
I
Guys,
appreciate
leave a
that.
comment down below. Go buy all of Michael's stuff. Please support him. If you are looking for a lecturer for your club, for your society, remember, physically and virtually, Michael will be there to lecture. Um, one more time, Michael, thank you so
Thank,
much for coming on the channel.
thank you, Craig. Thanks for having me. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate everything that Craig. Appreciate everything you've done, and everybody watching. I appreciate you watching. Appreciate everything you've done. Those people who've supported me over the years. You guys are the best. I love you all.
Guys, he is an absolute legend. Thank you so much for coming on the channel. I'll be
Sure.
back next Saturday with another Talk Magic. Until then, leave a comment down below. I'll see you again. On behalf of Michael Bregger, my name's Craig Petty, and you have been watching Magic
See
TV.
ya.